Hello everyone, I'm Devojit Das and welcome back to Courts Today by LiveLaw, your daily roundup of everything that has been important with India's courts. There are some crucial updates coming in from the courts today, from a contempt plea against the Telangana Assembly Speaker to updates in the Delhi riots case and Kapil Mishra's involvement in it. So, let's begin. Starting with the Supreme Court, where a contempt plea has been filed against the Speaker of the State Legislative Assembly. The Speaker is accused of failing to act on disqualification petitions against 10 MLAs who quit the Bharat Rashtra Samiti and joined the ruling Congress. To rewind a bit, Telangana held its state elections in November 2023, with results announced on December 3rd. The 10 MLAs in question were elected on BRS tickets, but within just a few months, between March and April of 2024, crossed over to the Congress. In response to this, two BRS legislators lodged disqualification pleas under paragraph 2 of the 10th schedule of the Constitution, which provides that a legislator can lose their seat if they voluntarily give up membership to their party. There is, however, one safeguard in paragraph number 4. If at least 2/3 of a party's legislators defect together, their move is treated as a merger, protecting them from disqualification. But in this case, the defectors made up less than 2/3 of BRS's total strength, meaning they do not enjoy that immunity. Staying with the Supreme Court for this one, as the court turned its attention to the long-awaited Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam, the women's reservation law that promises to reserve 1/3 of the seats in parliament and state assemblies for women, but only after a future census and delimitation exercise. A bench of Justices B.V. Nagarathna and R. Mahadevan heard a petition questioning this very delay clause. The petitioner argued that the government's promise of political empowerment for women rings hollow when its implementation depends on events that have no fixed timeline. The last census was due in 2021 and there's still no clarity on when the next one will take place, meaning the reservation could effectively be postponed for years. Justice Nagarathna pressed the centre for answers, asking when the process would begin. She noted that while it's true that the executive branch implements laws, the public deserves to know when this landmark reform will actually see the light of day. The petitioners also highlighted that tying reservation to delimitation creates unnecessary dependency on political decisions that can be delayed indefinitely. The court stopped short of issuing directions but signaled clear concern over the uncertainty. In a sense, the women's reservation law may be on the books, but until the census and delimitation move forward, its promise remains just that, a promise waiting for political will and administrative action to turn it into reality. Before moving on to the next development in the Supreme Court, it's important to know what the registration of citizens and issue of national identity cards rules of 2003 are. These rules require that once the final National Register of Citizens for Assam is published, as it was on 31st August 2019, the authorities must issue national identity cards to all those listed. A writ petition filed by All Assam Minority Student Union argues that despite 6 years having passed since publication, the government has not completed those mandatory steps. The petitioners want directions for issuance of identity cards to the approximately 3.11 crore citizens found eligible under the NRC, and rejection slips or orders for the roughly 19 lakh people excluded from the list, including initiation of their appeals under Rule 4A of the aforesaid rules. On 10th November 2025, the Supreme Court of India issued notice to the Union of India and the Registrar General of Citizen Registration seeking the response on this petition. At the hearing before a bench of Justices P.S. Narasimha and A.S. Chandorkar, the court asked tough questions about the petitioner's locus and when the final steps of the NRC process would be completed. In short, the petition argues that this unfinished state of affairs violates Articles 14 and 21 of the Constitution by leaving many without formal recognition as citizens. And for a final story from the Supreme Court, where it refused to directly hear the plea of Punjab MP Amritpal Singh, who has been detained under the National Security Act since April 2023. Instead, the bench of Justices Arvind Kumar and N.V. Anjaria asked him to approach the Punjab and Haryana High Court, directing that his case be decided within 6 weeks. Singh, now an elected member of parliament from Khadur Sahib, was arrested after a massive statewide crackdown coordinated between Punjab and the centre. Indian intelligence agencies have claimed he received support from Pakistan's ISI and built a private militia called the Anandpur Khalsa Fauj, stockpiling arms and inciting separatist activities. His legal team argued that waiting for months to get a hearing in the High Court would be an undue delay in challenging his preventive detention. The Supreme Court, however, said said bypassing the High Court would set a wrong precedent and stressed that procedure must be followed even in cases involving national security. Next, we take a look at a Delhi Sessions Court that set aside a magistrate's order that directed further investigation against BJP leader Kapil Mishra in connection with the 2020 Northeast Delhi riots. The earlier order, passed on April 1st this year by Additional Chief Metropolitan Magistrate Vaibhav Chaurasia, had instructed the Delhi police to conduct a fresh probe into Mishra's alleged role after a complaint claimed he made inflammatory marks and led a crowd in the Kardampuri area before the violence began. Special Judge Digvinay Singh, however, overturned that direction, holding that the magistrate had exceeded his jurisdiction. The judge noted that a larger conspiracy case related to the same riots is already pending before a special court, and the magistrate's order effectively encroached on the jurisdiction of that higher forum. The Sessions Court observed that since the alleged events form part of the same chain of incidents already under investigation, any order for a separate or parallel probe would create legal overlap and procedural confusion. Moving on to another noteworthy order where the court transferred both the matrimonial and criminal maintenance cases involving a lawyer husband and his advocate wife from Savai Madhavpur to Jaipur. The husband had alleged that his wife, being a practicing advocate, influenced the local bar association to issue notices to his lawyers, causing them to step back from representing him. The court stressed that every litigant is entitled to a fair and impartial hearing and that a litigant's right to legal representation should not be compromised. It held that the wife's pressure on the bar association had effectively prevented the husband from securing counsel, thus jeopardizing the fairness of the trial. By ordering the transfer to Jaipur, the court ensured the cases would proceed in a jurisdiction where the alleged interference would be less likely, restoring the conditions for a fair trial. And for a final update of the day, the Jaya Bachchan case in the Delhi High Court added itself to the list of personality rights cases approaching the courts these days. The actress and Rajya Sabha Member of Parliament filed a suit alleging that her images, voice and likeness were being used without consent by various entities for commercial gain. Justice Manmeet Preetham Singh Arora granted interim protection against unauthorized commercial use of her personality, particularly in merchandise, websites, and social media channels. However, the court stopped short of issuing relief against the use of her image in movie posters. It held that since the posters are related to films, the copyright likely lies with the film's producer or distributor, not necessarily with Jaya Bachchan. In effect, the judgment recognizes her personality rights, her right to control use of her image and association, but draws a line at situations where those rights intersect with copyright and film distribution rights. Those using her image in a film poster context will need to be formally heard before any injunction follows. This decision marks another step in how the courts are balancing individual dignity and private rights against commercial and creative freedoms in the age of social media and mass distribution. That brings this episode of Courts Today to a close, but remember, if you're interested in the judgments and updates mentioned here, visit livelaw.in and keep following us on all our socials to stay updated with everything that is law.